Shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Well, I can't say that because I'm not in GMS, but I am, but not. You know, it's complicated because I'm not an official. But basically, salutations and shalom to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire in all truthfulness and in all sincerity. And shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. I hope this video was edifying to y'all. Alright, I was just watching the brother from, I don't know if he's out or not, but brother from KC, you know, Kansas City, you know, doing a video on called a secret military police force to be deployed to the streets of America and going over these unrighteous decrees that Esau has passed. You know, the elites of Esau Edom using their puppet Orange Nero Trump, you know, as I call him. And hey, you know, Babylon, you know, has gone full circle. You know, you have, you know, basically the supposed reason why Babylon was separated from you know, her mother, the UK, was because of so-called, you know, rights were being violated and shit like that. You know, you had, like, one reason was you had a standing army on the streets of the colony and shit. But now you see, by the way, you know, King George III, the king that they were fighting against, when you look into it, he was a so-called black man. But anyways, you know, because our people was ruling Europe at the time still in many places. But it took a while to take our people down. But anyways, you know, the so-called reason why, you know, we had that revolution was basically the British were doing too much. But anyways, including having a secret military police force on the streets, you know, they had that as well. And then now you see America has gone full circle. Now you have a president, well, really, you know, they're kings, man, and he's acting like one. And you have the king of Babylon having a secret military police force deployed on the streets of America. So that's a standing army. That's a standing army on the streets of America. And basically, supposedly, it's to stop immigration and then now crime. You know, it's to stop that. Just sending the military, sending a militarized police force or the military to stop, to basically solve that, instead of some basically martial law, instead of you know, like the brother mentioned, local sheriffs, you know, stopping that shit. You have I think it was supposed to go. You have you know, first you had, you know, these cops, and it was militarized, and now you're actually having the military. They're talking about deploying the military. They already did in Cali against those protests, and now actual military. They're talking about deploying the military on U.S. streets against who? Against you tribes, man. And yeah, you so-called black people, Latinos and Native Americans, but also the Israelite foreigners scattered among these other nations. You got every nation here, including Esau, Edom, of course, are going to be affected by it as well, since it is Jacob's trouble. So, and that's what's coming. They basically, America went full circle so that they could oppress. They could basically, you know, ultimately get rid of our people. Because Esau, he wants that birthright. It all comes down to the birthright. Esau wants to get rid of Jacob, so that he inherits the birthright, just like Cain wanted to get rid of. Cain got rid of Abel because Abel got the blessing because he made a righteous sacrifice. So Esau has that spirit of Cain, and he's coming after you tribes, and that's Revelation 12, verse 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. The devil, Esau, Edom, the deceiver, the false accuser, he has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he had but a short time. He's fallen from that heavenly position that he's in. That's what it's talking about. His position at the top. And he feels, these devils feel that they're falling, and they can see that they're falling, and it's getting to them. For example, the so-called state of Israel is being exposed. Which those are Edomites of the tribe of Amalek. They're being exposed on a very high level, and Amalek is being resented throughout the world for basically the bullshit that they're doing, committing genocide against the Palestinians, and also people finding out that they're the fake Jews. They're not the real Israelites. They're the JOOs, not the JEWs. Verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, the dragon representing what? The revived Roman Empire. Because the dragon represented, when you read up, the dragon is the Roman Empire, ruled by Esau, Edom. There's a whole book that goes into it. Esau, Edom, basically the Roman Empire, going into it, how it's the empire of the Edomites, and it fits in with prophecy, because the fourth beast was the last beast to rule in Daniel, and that beast had that, there's a 10-horned beast, and it was the last beast to rule. And when you look at the Roman Empire, when you had the invasion of the Visigoths and shit, it was split up into 10 regions basically, and that's what that's talking about. And so the Roman Empire set up Herod, that Edomites. And Herod, tried to murder Yahushua. Murdered a whole bunch of babies, trying to murder Yahushua. Yeah, Herod tried to murder Yahushua. So basically, that's what the first verses, Revelation 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes into. And the red, you know, you have to think, you know, East, what does Edom mean? Edom means red. And that's why Esau, one reason Esau was called Edom, but also because of that red suit. That undercooked meat and lentils that he ate, because in Hebrews it goes into it further, that he ate those red meat, and then you had the lentils that he ate, that basically he gave away the birthright for the man Esau. So that red, you know, really tells you, great red dragon really tells you that was Esau Edom. That empire was being ruled by Esau Edom. And Esau Edom was prophesied to rule in these last days. 2nd Ezra 6, 7 on down to 9. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? Verse 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That's what that symbolized. So Esau, Edom, ruling by the sword, you know, this blessing, that is the time we're living in right now, the time where Esau, Edom, you know, these devils is ruling using the sword. And verse 13, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. What man child? What man child? Verse 5, and she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne. Man, who are these niggas? Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness. That was when they came down on the southern kingdom. That was still with the land. And the woman drove Jake out the land. We ain't been back since 70 AD, our people. Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had the place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her 1,260 days. And you look, basically the bulk of Jake fled into Africa, and eventually made their way into West Africa, you know, fitting in with the Hamites that look similar to them, because when you're fleeing, like, you want to blend in. And some Jakes went to other locations too, where our people already was, but the bulk, like even parts of Europe and shit, Asia, but the bulk of those Judites fled into Africa and eventually made their way to West Africa. And then you know, where they would eventually, they'd set up kingdoms, you know, because Jake flourished down there in Africa. And you know, like Mansa Musa's kingdom, and then eventually, but others as well. He had an actual kingdom of Judah that was down there in West Africa. And then you had where they would eventually be rounded up by Ishmael and Ham. You know, Ham being the indigenous Africans, and the Ishmaelites being the Arabs, of course. You know, rounding up, you know, you so-called black people, rounding up you Judites, and selling y'all to the self-proclaimed so-called white man, just as spoken about in Joel chapter 3 verse 7. And they have cast lots from a people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Verse 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Because the original inhabitants there were Hamites. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye, and those Hamites were of course driven out by our people. This, which is why it says this, verse 4. And what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head. And they did render the Most High Power Yahweh a recompense, because they rounded up Jake that was there and sold the Israelites of the house of Judah that were there to the so-called white man that had gained back power during the time of the Renaissance era, which means rebirth in French. The rebirth of what? The Roman Empire. So we're living in the revived Roman Empire. And also they literally did take our silver and gold and carry it into their temples, our goodly pleasant things. But also Israelites are compared to silver and gold in the scriptures. In verse 5, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. Verse 6, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. And this is what they did during the transatlantic slave trade. Grecians equals so-called white people. And Western civilization is modeled on Greco-Roman civilization. It's modeled on it, Even Washington D.C. is on was basically Washington D.C. Used to be a property owned by someone called himself the Pope of Rome, and it was called Rome, Maryland. And you look at D.C., it looks like Rome, modern day version. But verse 6, and basically these cities is like modeled after that too in America, like Rome. Verse 6, the children, okay, I read that. Verse 7, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, America, and these Western countries, but mainly America, and will return your recompense upon your own head. Which ultimately those Hamites will pay for what they did. And also you have the small heads, the current, tribe of Amalek, the current inhabitants of Palestine, because they seized it from Ishmael. They owned the ships, so it applies that way as well. They owned the ships, so they were shipping our people, and they owned the largest plantations here in the States. So they were shipping our people to the self-proclaimed so-called white man. So they participated in selling our people to the self-proclaimed so-called white man. And they also, took part in owning our people as well, enslaving our people. But and then taking our people's identity, like Amalek would do. And that's what Amalek did. And but anyways, yeah. basically we were taken to this, to our people was taken to this place, America, and should later be the United States taking over here. And basically, like it says, verse 14, where she is nourished from a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Because at the same time, our people was nourished at the same time being persecuted. Now it's time after those times, right, where she is nourished from. And also it's talking about, basically 70 AD, but the times that's coming, Jacob's trouble, it's like 70 AD, but worse. Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. And basically, you tribes are gonna be sick with fear, man. But for what's gonna happen? And these are the words that the Most High Power Yahweh spake concerning Israel, concerning Judah. Verse 5, for thus so both kingdoms. For thus saith the Most High Power Yahweh, both houses, man. We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, not of peace. Verse 6, ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turning to paleness. And when you look at the word paleness, it goes into sick with fear. You look into the Hebrew word for it. You know how you so sick, like even so-called black folks and Latinos, get affected by that, but in a different way. But Jake you gotta think, a time like no other too. So Jake is gonna be sick with fear, Verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even a time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. It's a time of Jacob's trouble. But anyways, Revelation 12, and basically that's what's about to happen. These devils are about to come down with great wrath. Read on down to verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High Power Yahweh, and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So ultimately the target is the elect. They're just getting everyone else out of the way first. That's the real target of all this. They just setting up a precedent, and they just get, basically everyone else is collateral. Everyone else. Everyone else is collateral. Everyone else is fucking collateral. But these devils are coming down with great wrath. And hey, something else I wanted to bring out. because Esau is basically, I'm gonna title this video "America's Gone Full Circle," right? Supposedly the reason for the U.S. Becoming its own country, supposedly, we know it's deeper, is that basically there was a standing army on USO, standing British army, and they was giving the people hell and shit. That's supposedly the reason why. But we know it's deeper. You know, New Atlantis, looking at that, shit like that. We know it's deeper. But Ecclesiastes, like it was always meant to happen. But Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that hath been is that which shall be, that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Verse 10 is, and it's talking about reincarnation, but also empires as well. Empires get reincarnated and they do the same things. You know, like the Roman Empire began as a republic. Verse 10, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new, it had been already of old time, which was before. So it's the same people doing the same shit. Verse 11, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come, with those that shall come after. You know, and it really is talking about past lives, but also, because the thing that that happened is talking about man. Is you read on down in Ecclesiastes to verse 6 and 10. Well, chapter 6, verse 10. That which hath been is named already, and is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than him. So, reincarnation ultimately is what it's talking about. But also, you know, they're doing the same things that they did before. You know, and even like the shit that's written down is like documented. You know, they document it's they don't learn from it. But verse 11, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come, which those that shall come after. So basically, Donald Trump is over here doing the same shit, you know. And you know, of course, he's executing the plans of the elites of Esau Edom that control him, that pull the strings. But he's doing the same shit. Basically, he's doing the same shit. But and because it's basically these same Edomites that, you know, they're hardcore patriots or whatever the fuck, like hardcore right-wing patriots. They are with a lot of this shit because basically Esau Edom, he hates Jacob so much that even if they lose their rights, as long as they get to stick it to the other, which is Jake, the other brother, right, which is Jake, you know, it works out for him. He's alright with it. And Amalek, you know, the small hats, which mainly the elites are made up of Amalek, they know this. Amalek knows this. And they know that the best way to achieve that NWO is to, you know, use the best way to get these regular Edomites to go along with the NWO is basically to use their hatred against our people, against them. And now crime, what do they think of? Crime, thugs, youths, they think of so-called black folks. Judah. And so, basically, you know, if it affects them, it's alright, basically. But when this devil roll out, the MOTV is really, especially you Bible Belt evangelical types, man. That's when y'all gonna realize that basically what these devils, you know, headed up by Amalek, was trying to do. Your ass getting thrown in the FEMA camps because you ain't taking the MOTV. You ain't taking the digital ID. You know, the new Trump digital ID, you know, supposedly to deal with the crime and immigration problem. You ain't taking it, you know. That's how they getting y'all, motherfucker. Some of y'all are jakes. Israelite foreigners scattered among these. But this is how they getting y'all motherfuckers too. Pretty much. But anyways, I want to give all praises to Yahweh. I hope this video was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Akak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who knew well. Well, damn, I keep forgetting. It's like salutations and shalom to the apostles and elders of GMS who knew well. And shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. Hey, Bible Ball, that's a Babylon, Abala Adamonin, death to these Edomites, Abala Gawaian, death to these heathens, Abala or other nations, Abala Ayam Nawa, death to our enemies, and Yahweh Shami Al Shai will bring in his time, you know, which is coming soon. Shalom, stay strong, Bible Ball. Wah, I can't stress that enough. Wah, Yahshua live forever. I'm on the side of here. Shalom. Stay strong and stay up. Brothers and sisters. Shalom.